Good morning, everyone. How are you guys? All right. Let me kind of dive into what I'm looking at on the charts this morning. So, zooming out, looking at the higher time frames, I have my levels marked off. I actually did these actual levels in my video that I posted on Saturday. So I like to start off the week with the previous week value area high, previous week point of control, and previous week value area low. I find a lot of times those levels do come into play. And then I have my previous day high, previous day low, and then Friday's session, value area high, value area low, point of control. And then I do have these gray shaded areas, which are the higher volume areas from the higher time frames, which price likes to return to those. So that just kind of gives me some points of interest to look at. So kind of just what I'm thinking today in terms of levels. I know it's hard to see, but this is the Asia low, which is the overnight low. I do have an alert set there, just overnight I had it. I'll turn that off. But that's a pretty big level. It's also the previous week value area high. I feel like if it holds above that, then it's pretty bullish. I would be looking for longs. If it drops below that, then I feel like we have a lot of room to come back down to previous day low area, which would still be continuing that uptrend even if we stay above this 21,500 level. So I don't know, that's kind of what I'm looking at, this 21,715-ish region as a line in the stand. If it stays above that, I think I would be looking for longs. If it goes below that, I think I would be looking for shorts. But we shall see how the market opens. Kind of watching this consolidation here. It is consolidating right between this value area low and point of control from Friday. So I feel like if it can break above this zone, like with authority, it could at least go to value area high. And then if it's a bullish day, then who knows? We could continue much higher. I am, Luna. I'm still holding a small long position. I scaled out quite a bit of it just because I didn't like that chop. It always makes me nervous when I hold my positions for hours. Good morning, guys. If you're here in the chat, let me know. Say good morning. No silent stalkers. I want to hear from you. Wait about 5 minutes till market open. I kind of let you know my thoughts, but I also, it's in no news today. There's no news at all. I mean, unless there's some announcement with like China talks or something random, but there's nothing scheduled, which kind of makes me wonder if it's going to be a little bit of a choppy day or a lower volume day. So we can watch out for that and be careful with that. A lot of times when there's no news, like no high volume events, then it doesn't really trend in one direction for a long time. Like there's no continuation, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So it might be one of those days where you see profit, take profit, but we'll see how it goes. Yeah, Luna, I do. So I have a lot of VWAPs on right now, and I kind of start to get overwhelmed with too many lines on my chart. So as soon as something is no longer valid, I like to delete it. So my VWAPs that I have anchored right now, this blue one is the overnight, like the traditional indicator VWAP. The purple one is from anchored from the London Open. The yellow one is actually from the news candle from, I think it was Friday, when they made that announcement. What was that? There was some news event at 7:30 Central Time on Friday. I don't remember what it was. But that high volume event is where I anchored that yellow one from. So it's currently above that. And then what other one do I have? The green one is from Friday's high. So it's above that. So that's kind of why I was looking for longs. When it's holding above all the VWAPs, I'm typically looking for longs. Not always, but it adds to the confluence. So yeah, I'll probably take the London VWAP off here shortly when the market opens, and I'll anchor the New York Open. Yeah, Friday, NFP, that's right. I find that I don't care a whole lot about like what the actual news is. I just know it's a high volume event and I don't want to be trading it or watch my positions during that time. One second, I'm gonna fix something on my screen real quick. Gotta make sure I'm logged into all my accounts that I'll be trading today. So I'm gonna be trading my top one futures instant funded accounts with you guys. I have two that I'm copy trading. So got logged into those. And then I'll be flipping back and forth between TradingView and Top One because I like to chart here. All right, we got about 1 minute till market open. So I'll move over to the 1 minute chart. Let's see if we can get some movement, some direction, figure out where we're headed for today. Have you guys taken any trades yet so far this morning? All right, market is open. Let me get my anchored VWAP on this opening candle, and I like to make it blue, light blue, so it's different from my regular blue. So I like to watch for liquidity sweeps. So if it comes up to London high and rejects, or if it comes up to value area high and rejects strongly, or if it comes up to even the previous day high and rejects strongly, I'd be looking for a short. And then vice versa, if it comes down to like the London low and has a strong bounce, I'd be looking for a long, or Asia low and has a strong bounce, I'd be looking for a long. But also want to be patient with this market open, let it play out, and take some good trades. All right, gonna start marking off my 15-minute opening range so far. Sellers are showing up. Yeah, I'll delete this London anchored VWAP. That one doesn't really matter to me so much anymore. And then this green one is from, like I said, Friday's high of day. I'll delete that one. Kind of just paying attention to the New York anchor VWAP, which is this light blue one that you can't really see too well yet. And then this overnight VWAP. What are you guys leaning towards for the day overall? Anyone have a bias, long or short? Where do you think we're headed? Like I was saying, there's no news today, so might be a slower, low volume, kind of choppy day. And that's looking like what the open is so far. Getting a little bit of a bounce here. That is yesterday's value area low area. It's holding above that. But not really getting any continuation so far with it. Not convincing enough to be thinking about longs yet. I know we're only 4 minutes in, but it's kind of looking like it wants to come lower and grab either London low liquidity or Asia low, depending on how far it drops. I'll turn off this visible range volume profile for now, just to be able to see a little bit better. Starting to come down. Let's see how it reacts with this overnight VWAP here. If it gets a strong bounce up, it could be going long, or if it drops below it, could be going short. All right, starting to get heavy. Like I said, I feel like it's going to come down to either London low or Asia low and at least grab that liquidity. It doesn't look like it's completely dumping yet. So I feel like we might get a bounce in one of these areas. Especially if there's a quick bounce off of London low and it reclaims that VWAP. That could be a good long opportunity. Kind of something I'm watching for, but still being patient and waiting for that reaction. That's something I'm learning how to get better at, is not just take an automatic limit order at those regions, but actually wait for the reaction. So there's that London low area. Let's see if we get a strong buy up from that liquidity grab. So far, so good. Getting over here, ready to possibly take a position. All right, I'm gonna take a low risk position here just because the stop loss wouldn't be that big of a risk. So entered 776. Pretty good bounce off of that London liquidity grab, and it is already back above VWAP. And let's see if we can get back up to this range high. So that would be about 815 if we get back up there. So I did enter a small long, just kind of a feeler position for the first one in the morning. Don't always like to do it before the 15-minute opening range is set, but it kind of played out with one of those if-then positions I was telling you about, where if it grabs the London liquidity and has a strong bounce and it reclaims the VWAP, then it would be a potential long, and that's pretty much what happened. Kind of hitting some resistance here at that anchored New York VWAP, so it might continue lower, might stop me out. Yep, looks like it's headed there. Order filled. All right. Took a small loss, that's all right. I'll go ahead and mark that position on here. $776 was my entry, and I was hoping to get to the top of the range. And my stop loss was at the bottom of that wick. Cool. So that was the first position. All right. So let's get this 15-minute opening range set and be patient with these trades. How's everyone's morning going so far? You guys do anything this weekend? I didn't really do much this weekend, and it was actually nice. We've had several weekends where we were traveling and had like family graduation parties and lots of stuff going on. Just go, go, go on the weekend. So this weekend we just hung out at home and swam with the kids in the pool and watched a movie. Just kind of relaxed. It was nice. Tried out a new Mexican restaurant in Nashville. What's your go-to order at a Mexican food place? I usually like to get the fajitas. Not because that's my favorite thing on the menu, But because, I mean, I have a nutrition and fitness background, I always track macros and stuff like that. So I get the fajitas because they're like the healthier item on the menu if you eliminate the cheese and sour cream and all that stuff. Because I want to save my calories for margaritas. So that is my reasoning behind it. What do you normally get? Same fajitas? For the same reason, because you also get the margarita? Or because you actually like the fajitas? All right. So this is a little annoying because it might actually go up to my target and my idea may have been correct. I just got wicked out. That's all right though. I could have been a little bit more patient. There's always another trade, right? So breaking above this New York anchored VWAP. I don't put too much weight on the New York anchored VWAP this early in the day. It's only been 13 minutes, so there's not a whole lot of data. But that was a pretty convincing break above. And that London low liquidity grab I was talking about, I just put my stop loss a little bit too tight. So let's see how it reacts at the top of this 15-minute range and the previous London high area, and see if we get some continuation for a bullish move higher or if we reject and we're going to come back down. That's kind of what I'm looking for. Bookmap orders at 60.10 and 60.11. Are you looking at ES or what are you looking at? That wouldn't be at ES. They're not in that price range. I haven't looked at Bookmap this morning. I do see quite a few at, what is that, 8:30, 8:35 in that area, which is right above that London high, right below value area high. Yeah, that would make sense as a good area of resistance. Yeah, ES, I figured. All right, so did break out of that New York anchored VWAP. It did retest and it's going higher. The 15-minute range is set now. So kind of what I'm looking for here is to see how it reacts at this 15-minute opening range high. See if it breaks out and continues higher, or see if perhaps it grabs this London high liquidity and comes back lower. Good morning from Germany. I guess it would be good afternoon to you, right? Kind of just chopping around here. Not a whole lot in terms of trade certainty that I'm seeing. What are you guys looking at in terms of trades? Kind of thinking along the same lines as me? too. I don't know if you heard my son in the background. Brother and sister are having a fight about something. They're home from school for the summer, so letting them hang out in their pajamas this morning until I'm done trading, and then we'll go hang out by the pool or go to the beach or something. Yeah, definitely choppy. I was kind of wondering if this is what was going to happen with having no news today, no high volume events to really drive that price continuation. So this is the kind of day where, I mean, unless something changes, but it'll probably be kind of a small scalpy kind of day, not wait for a home run move. It is holding above that anchored VWAP area. Give me one sec, you guys. All right, I'm back. Didn't miss much, huh? So I like to kind of play around with the risk to reward. So if I was to take a long here, my stop loss would be at that wick below the VWAP, because I really wouldn't want to let it go much further than that. And I would probably take profit around that London high area. So decent risk to reward. Now it would not be a decent risk to reward, because that would again be where I would want to take my profit. And that's like less than a 1-to-1. So we'll see. Stick with the original plan. Wait and see how it reacts at this range high. See if there's a breakout retest, or see if it rejects this London high area. Are you talking about on that risk to reward tool that I just did? Like in this case, would I round up to 7 or round up to 8 or stick with 7? Honestly, it depends on how I'm feeling. If I'm like super confident in the trade and there's lots of confluences, lots of things lining up, I would probably do 8 in this example. Or if I have less confidence, I'd probably round down. So in this case, just kind of gauging how my confidence is right now, I would probably round down, because there's not a whole lot of confluence. If I was to take a trade, I'm not right now, but if I was to take a trade in this middle chop zone, there's not a whole lot of confluence other than the fact that it broke above the New York anchored VWAP and it's holding above value area low. That's about it. So I would be less confident in this trade, I think, which is probably why I'm not taking it yet. So Bookmap, a big order just came in at 850, but you know, it's one of the, I don't put a whole lot of weight on those. There's 400 orders up there. I feel like those are usually the orders that get taken off. They're kind of just spoof orders or whatever you want to call them. Although 850 it's a good region. Value area high would be a good point to reject from. All right, so coming up to this opening range high area. So what I'd be looking for is a strong rejection from this London high and back down for a possible short. Or if there's a breakout and then a retest with a strong bullish reaction, possibly a long off of that opening range high. So far it's rejecting, but not with a whole lot of conviction. It's not like sellers are definitely taking control. All right, now we're seeing some sellers. I think if I was to take a short, I would rather have it come up to this 824, 825 area and reject, grab a little bit more liquidity. This isn't looking like it would be a great short to take. Still kind of looks like buyers are in control at this point. What are you guys seeing? Anyone taking any trades so far? All right. So this is kind of what I was looking for. Starting to break out above that opening range high. It's about to hit the previous London high. Kind of looking for how it's going to react. If there's a strong rejection, I'll probably take a short. But I want to wait for it to grab that liquidity up there. Well, there's the sellers. All right, we got Lost Texan in along. Cool. Good morning, Richard. Well, at this point, I'm not really getting enough information either way. So just sitting flat, no trade yet. I did take that small feeler position earlier. But waiting for some information. I wouldn't want to take a short just because sellers aren't really showing up. It's also above the New York anchored VWAP. But I wouldn't want to take a long yet since it's still rejecting from this 15-minute opening range high and has quite a bit of resistance up here with the London high and value area high. So just waiting for some more info. Tuning in from Norway. Cool. Just sitting here drinking my coffee, waiting for something to happen. There we go, getting a little bit of sellers. At this minute though, at this point, being on the 1 minute chart, like analyzing every candle, there's not a whole lot going on. Let's see what it looks like on the 5 minute. They're getting some sellers now. So it never came up and grabbed that London high liquidity that I was looking for. So didn't enter that short. Let's see where it goes from here. So kind of chopping in this zone right here. We could find a potential long if it, so this area right here, right at 789, 21,789. There's the New York anchored VWAP right at yesterday's or Friday's value area low. If there's a strong bounce off of that, that could be a potential long area, especially since it already broke out of that 15-minute opening range high once. If it were to come back up with a strong bounce, it could potentially break out the second time. Let's see how it reacts here. If there's a strong bounce, could be looking for a long. Let's see as we get a little bit closer to that candle close. All right, I'm gonna enter long there. Kind of played out that scenario I was talking to you guys about. Had a strong bounce off of that value area low, which was also confluence with the New York anchored VWAP. It had also already broken out of that 15-minute opening range high. So my hope is that if it hits again, it'll actually break this time and hopefully come up to this value area high. So my entry was 808.25. And then I'll put my stop loss below. Come on, let's get some continuation here. So right at that value area high, a little bit below those orders on Bookmap at 850, which I haven't even looked again. Are they still there? Nope, see, they already got taken off. I still think 850 is a good region. A little below. I'll put it at 845-ish. And then depending on how powerful it gets, if all of a sudden volume comes in and it starts to move powerfully to the upside, I'll probably take most of it at the value area high and then leave a runner for previous day high. If it continues to chop around like this, I'll just take all of it off if it ever gets there. All right, so 880 is yesterday's high. Value area high is 845. So ultimate target, I'll leave that there, and then 845 is where I'll take most of it. So far, still rejecting that 15-minute opening range high. Man, I'm not liking this PA today. I might not be taking very many trades today. I'll mark off that 60-minute high, just a little above the 15-minute opening range high. Lost Texan, are you still long? Luna, are you in any trades? All right, come on. Let's retest that 15-minute opening range high again and break out this time. Had a decently strong bounce again off of that anchored VWAP. Just want to get some continuation here. All right, we got a little green candle. Don't want to get too excited though. I know when I start to look at every single candle on the 1-minute chart, then I'm in trouble. That's a sign. Normally I put anchored VWAPs on like the high a day and low a day for the New York session and stuff, but it's just so choppy. I don't think that data even matters. That would be the high of the New York session, but you can see it's just chopping around it. So I feel like this could mean one of two things. One is we're just going to be choppy all day, and I won't be taking very many trades. Or it's consolidating for a bigger move, right? Let's see what the 5-minute chart looks like. Whole lot of nothing. What is our range so far? 70-point range. 36 minutes into the open. A lot of times we have a 70-point range in like 10 minutes. That's how it's gonna be today, huh? All of this right here. I feel like if it ever breaks above that, it could be a big move. Or it could mean that it's just lots of resistance and it's going lower.
Do you know where Dad's computer is?
Well, while we're waiting for the market to do something, tell me how you guys drink your coffee. And if you're not a coffee drinker, what do you drink? I have an espresso machine, and I think it was a Mother's Day a Mother's Day gift I got like 5 years ago. And it's probably my favorite thing in my whole kitchen. I use it every morning. I make myself a latte, and it's like better than a $7 Starbucks latte, but I get it in my house every morning. With cream, hot coffee, no iced coffee, huh? I drink mine hot too. Except, honestly, it's usually room temperature. By the time I actually drink my coffee, it's room temperature. So it's not cold coffee on purpose. It's just because I forgot to drink it or I lost my cup somewhere and then I find it 30 minutes later and now it's cold. Drink your coffee by the gallon. I usually drink, one is my normal. It's been 2 lately. Need a little extra caffeine lately. Kids have been home for the summer, driving me crazy. I'm surviving on caffeine right now. There we go. I told you guys, well, I didn't tell you. I told you 1 of 2 scenarios. We were either going to chop around all day or it was getting ready for a bigger move. So there is the bigger move. All right. So let's see if we get up to that value area high. So it hit that London high. If there's a strong rejection there, we could be in trouble with our long. It could be going short. But that was a really powerful move up, so I'm not thinking that's likely. I'm going to take, I only took a 3-lot position. So I'm going to take most of my position off, 2/3 of my position at that value area high and leave a runner for previous day high. And at this point, I'm going to move my stop loss to slightly in profit, pretty much break even. All right, G-Man's long. What are you targeting? So I've been trying to get better at adding to my winning positions. So I do feel really good about this position now with that strong break out of that consolidation area. So I'm not going to add here just because that would make my average in a really bad position. But if we were to have a retest of this initial balance high or 15-minute opening range high and then a bullish move back off of it, I would probably add to my position. If not, then I'll just write it to my target and not add. Because I've made that mistake in the past where I'll add here on the breakout and then my average is like in a position where my stop loss is not in a good spot and it just messes up the whole position, messes up the whole trade. So I don't want to do that. If I were to add, I would wait for a retest and then a strong reaction. All right, I'll go back to my trade screen. 845 is at value area high, so it looks like it's gonna at least hit that. And then I'll have that runner for previous day high. Plug it in. Get out. All right, hit my first target. Now let's see if it just keeps running up or if it comes back and possibly gives me a spot to retest and add. How's Bookmap looking? What do we have? Decent amount of orders at 862. And then smaller amounts of orders on the way up to like 21,900. I could see 862 if you scroll left, or if you look left. There's quite a few wicks in this area. That's kind of like 850, 860 area. So it could stop there instead of going all the way up to previous day high. But we'll see. I only have one contract left, so I'm okay with holding it. See what we get. I have been sizing down, just being live makes me a little bit more nervous, to be honest. I probably would have taken 4 or 5 contracts in this scenario normally. So I only went 3. So it's not as big of a win as I would have hoped, but that's okay. I'm also learning to just take what the market gives me, be consistent, not be greedy. So I feel good about this trade so far. Last Texan and G-Man, are you still holding your position or are you fully out? Nice. Good job. And those are on your funded accounts, yeah? With Top One, or are you trading the futures desk? All right, so going back to my trading view where I can see the levels that I have marked, we are at the value area high from yesterday, which a lot of times is a resistance. So if it doesn't break up above it soon, and we do start to have a strong rejection, I could see where shorts might be the play. But if it's not a strong rejection and it kind of just comes back down and like retests and go higher, that might be an opportunity to add to my position to get more profits higher. That's kind of what I'm waiting for. I just have this one contract left in my position. I'm kind of just looking to see how it reacts at the level we're at now, see if I need to take full profits and just get out, or look for an opportunity to add to my winner. So I can move this anchored VWAP, since that's no longer the high of the day, move it over here. that anchored VWAP doesn't matter a whole lot right now. There's not a whole lot of information with the last 3-minute candles, but I like to keep it on there just for the future. All right, starting to head higher. Didn't really give me an opportunity to add to my position, but that's okay. So zooming out a little bit, if I go to the 4-hour, we do have previous day high at 21,879. If it were to head higher than that, we have some areas up here. I mean, even up to like 936 or so, 935. So kind of depends if we keep continuation with this slow grind up. Cool. I'm glad you found that helpful, G-Man. Do you mark those same levels with the session volume profile, like on the previous day and the previous week? Do you add those to your chart too? Or was there anything different from what you do? Oh, I guess I can change my IB high level since we are still working on that first 60 minutes. And I'm technically still in this position, so my final target is there. So I'll move that. I've found that the previous week value area high, point of control, and value area low, those levels, you don't use them a whole lot. Like right now, if I zoom out a little bit, they're way down here. Like that's the value area high, and then point of control and value area low. Like those are way off the charts. But when they do come into play, they're like on point, like to the dollar. There's a bounce off of those levels. So I like having them on my chart. Being stuck in a winning trade is a good place to be. Yep. I'm kind of just wishing that I either sized up more or there was a retest, like this opening range high or somewhere around here that I could add to my position. Because now I just have that one contract left. So I typically don't like to move my targets just because I don't want to be greedy. But I feel like maybe I'm just justifying this for myself, but I don't feel like this would be a greedy move if I were to move it and just kind of trail my stop at this point, because I already have taken profit on 2/3 of the position. But if it's just going to be a slow grind up like this and not give me an opportunity to add more to the position, then I don't want to get fully out and then miss out on more move. So I'll trail my stop at this point. And then, what did I say? 935 was that wick on the daily chart. We'll see if it goes up there. Really what I prefer though is a break lower retest so I can get in a little bit bigger. You add the week and the day open, like an anchored VWAP at those points, or like mark off a level. What do you mean? I do typically keep an anchored VWAP for the week, the start of the week. But I don't always mark the weekly levels, like the open of the week. I just mark the previous day high and low. Well, this high of day anchored VWAP just keeps moving. There's no point in having it on my chart at this point. I'm moving it up with every 1 minute candle. I'll delete it for now. So if you guys aren't familiar with anchored VWAPs, they're good for, like I said, I marked at the start of the New York session. That's what this blue line is. But I also really like to use anchored VWAPs for finding entries on retests. So like if this was to come down a little bit, bounce, and start to head higher, I could put an anchored VWAP at this high of day. And then as it came down and then started to come back up, if it were to cross that high of day anchored VWAP, that would be a sign to enter long again, because it shows that buyers are back in control if it convincingly breaks above that anchored VWAP, high of day anchored VWAP. So that's why I like to use them and keep them on my chart. But today it doesn't really matter a whole lot because we're not going back down. We're not breaking lower and having a retest yet, at least. So we're about 6 minutes away from having that 60-minute range set. So we'll see what we get at that point. See if we just keep grinding higher and maybe at a breakout or maybe a failed auction or something like that. I don't do handout. Well, I do if there's like a trending market, but I feel like we don't get too many days where it's just like up, 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 or down, 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 just the whole day. That's where at least it makes sense in my brain to have the handoffs. Because then, like, if you're in a bullish trending market, for example, you put one at the low of day anchor, and then if there's a point where it like bounces and gains some steam and goes up again, you would anchor it again there. But that only works if it's like trending up all day or trending down all day. The reverse would be true. At least that's how I understood it from that book. So I don't feel like we have too many days like that. I typically just mark the New York open and then the high of day and low of day, if it makes sense. Like today, for example, the high of day isn't really mattering that much. I mean, even here, I could put an anchored VWAP at this high of day, but I still wouldn't use that necessarily as a reason to enter along, because it's only been like 4 minutes since that anchored VWAP. I would like to have a little bit more data. Like if it trended down and kind of bounced around for a good like 15-20 minutes and then broke back above, that would be a good reason for me. But I don't feel like 4 or 5 minutes of candles is enough data to like prove that this anchored VWAP matters, you know? And then, like I said, I could put one at the low of day. But at this point, it's so far away from that, and I'm not even looking for shorts, that it doesn't matter a whole lot. If it were to start to just drop and break below that, then it could be time for shorts. but I usually don't add it to my chart until it actually matters. I'll delete this one. I told you guys this morning if you were here, that's the news anchored VWAP from Friday, the NFP release. But it's kind of just flattening out at this point, so I'll remove it. So still sitting in my position with one contract left, kind of just leaving a runner. Was originally targeting yesterday's high at about 880. But I mean, if it's going to continue grinding higher, I have it set right now at, on the daily chart, there's a wick at 935, 936. So I'll just leave it to run there and trim my stop and see what I can get out of it. Or possibly add to my position if we get a nice little dip and then move higher. It's kind of what I'm looking for. The initial balance will be set in just a couple minutes, so we'll see what we get from there. Since it's been such a slow grind up all morning, kind of wondering if we are going to have a bigger retest and come back down to this 15-minute opening range high. If you zoom out to the 5-minute chart, there's a lot of price action in this area. If I turn the visible range volume profile back on, check that out. If you guys use volume profile at all, you know that price likes to return to these high volume areas. And over the last, what do I have on the chart right now? Since Monday morning, Sunday night, basically since market open, this has been a really high volume area. Lots of chop right here. And confluence, because it's yesterday's point of control and that 15-minute opening range high. So I could see it coming down and retesting that and continuing higher if we're going to stay bullish today. So I'll trail my stop on this one contract that I have. That way I'm in a position if it continues to grind higher. But I can also get stopped out in profit if we're potentially going to come down, retest, and I'll re-enter a position again. That's kind of what I'm looking for. What are you guys watching right now? Anyone in a trade or waiting for a certain level or anything? What are you guys seeing? All right. Now we're getting some movement. Yeah, waiting for that initial balance reaction. I feel ya. Now that we have that initial balance set, I'd like to see if we're going to get a breakout bounce retest to move higher, or if we're going to have a failed auction. So we're about to find out here. That's also yesterday's high. So if it stays in this level and keeps rejecting from here, we could be looking at a failed auction possibility. Or we could just be going higher. Price is pretty jumpy. I know, right, Nico? Like, or not. I guess we're not going back down. I'm not seeing anything on financial juice. So, no news. I guess we just have buyers. So I'm still sitting in this one contract long, one micro. So it's a tiny little position. I was really hoping for something to give me a reason to enter more, but there haven't really been any pullbacks. So we're sitting right at yesterday's high, or Friday's high, I guess, previous day high. Kind of just chopping around here for now. We'll see how it reacts here. If sellers start to show up and we have a strong move down, we could definitely be getting a failed auction. If it's not a strong move down and we kind of just inch our way down and then buyers show back up, it could be a breakout retest. Those are kind of the scenarios I'm looking to have play out. All right, so stop loss wise, I'm gonna put it right here at 847. I don't really want it to go lower than that, because if it does, then I feel like we're going down to that 15-minute opening range high I was telling you about. We're starting to get more confluence down here at this 15-minute opening range high area. Like I was saying before, there's lots of resistance, which usually turns into support. And the low of day anchored VWAP, this red one, and the New York anchored VWAP are all kind of in this area. So if we do get a rejection from this previous day high, I'd be looking at a short and targeting that general region. Let's see. Starting to get a little bit of a rejection, but I also like to wait for some confirmation and not just analyze every 1 minute candle. I like to look at volume too. So this move up to previous day high was pretty strong. There was lots of volume. And the rejection from that previous day high, there's not a whole lot of volume, which kind of tells me that sellers are not rejecting it or not selling previous day high yet, at least. So that's why I'm not jumping into a short. Just kind of waiting for some more information. All right, so starting to come down to this initial balance high. If it starts to break and hold below the initial balance high, then I'll be thinking we're having a failed auction. If it continues to chop around and hold above, then my guesses will be going higher. So still kind of just being patient. I'll tell you guys, trading live has helped so much with being patient in my trades. This is only the second time I've done it on my channel. I've done it another time on a different person's channel as a guest trader. But sitting alone and like analyzing every candle, it's so much harder to be patient. But when there's people like watching me and trading with me and seeing my entries, I don't want to take those like dumb, impatient trades. And I think talking it out helps too. Like kind of say what I'm looking for and like different if-then scenarios. It helps a lot. So I'm still in this long with 1 micro. I have my stop loss fairly tight because if it drops much lower, then I think we're going to get a failed auction. So this is my top 1 futures accounts. I also do have an account with the futures desk that if I get another good setup, I'll probably trade with that one too. But again, just being patient for now. If we get a strong reaction here, it might be a good breakout retest. Might be a good spot to add to my position. Yeah, it is holding IB high. I'm not really seeing a whole lot of continuation either way though. Not a whole lot of volume. Kind of just chopping around. So I'm considering adding to my long just because the risk would still be low. Like my entry is still way down here. So even if I added 2 or 3 contracts, I could still put my stop loss at break even and be in a good position. Trading the devil in Q. I know. So the guy who got me into futures trading, Joey Morgan, the guy that I like followed on his Discord and stuff, he trades NQ. So that's just kind of the first one I learned on. And then I tried watching ES. I was like, oh, maybe I can trade both, or maybe I can switch over to ES or whatever. It's so slow. Like I'm so used to the fast, like crazy moves with NQ that ES just put me to sleep. I was bored. All right. What do you guys think? Is it holding IB high? Is it going higher? It's kind of what I'm seeing, but there's not a lot of continuation, which makes me wonder. You think this is a breakout of IB high, retest, continuation higher? Or do you think that we're going to reject? It's going to be a failed action. What do you guys see? This could be a little flag forming. You hope it rejects. Are you short, Luna? Oh no. Yeah, I feel like IB high breakout. All right, guys, I'm gonna do what I was saying before. I'm gonna add to my position. The only reasoning is because the risk to reward is good. I can keep my stop loss pretty much at that IB low, so if it does start to have a failed auction, I'm not risking anything. And if it goes higher, I'll be sitting good with a little bit of a bigger position. So new entry is 859. I'm gonna go ahead and mark it kind of as a different position, just so I can track them. So 859 is pretty much where my average is right now. And then really my stop loss is at break even, because if it goes much lower, I think it's going to be a failed auction. So D says anchor the last low. Are you talking about here? Like there? Or what low are you talking about? There we go. All right. So got out at break even there. I took that one loss this morning, so that last trade got me back into green. I'll delete that one because it was kind of just a break even trade. Yep. This is kind of starting to look like a failed auction, which makes sense, honestly. It's rejecting yesterday's high, previous day high, starting to fall back below IB high. Where would the stop loss be? It's a pretty big stop, so I would size down a little bit, target that 15-minute high. All right, I don't love my entry, but I do think we're going lower. It broke that support area right there, rejecting previous day high and breaking back below the initial balance high. So entry is actually lower at 844. I don't love that risk, so I'm not going to put my stop loss all the way up at that previous wick high. I'm probably going to put it actually closer to here, because if it breaks back above IB high, I think we're going higher. I like that risk to reward better. So right now it's at value area high. If it falls back below that, I think we're sitting good in our position. If it holds above that, that could be a bad sign for our shorts. Did anyone else get in short? What are you guys trading right now? I do think shorts are the play. I don't like my entry. I think I got in too low. Stop loss, I'm gonna put there, which is right at that chop area. So hopefully that'll serve as resistance. It's also a little bit above IB high. So if it comes back up and rejects, and hopefully we're in a good spot. Again, don't love my position. Or my entry, I mean. I'd like to see it get below this value area high, then I would feel better about it. Get below and hold below. So looking at Bookmap, see if we have any big orders lower, good spots for a potential take profit. There's quite a few at 820, which is right around that 15-minute opening range high. So that's kind of what I was thinking. Again, reasoning behind that is lots of volume on the visible range volume profile. So that could serve as support. Also point of control and 15-minute opening range high. And then also the anchored New York VWAP is right there. So I feel like that's a good target. So zooming out at the 5-minute. It's looking good for that filled auction. D, I know you were the one talking about the anchor VWAP. Did you, oops, I didn't mean to move that. Did you get in short when it broke below that? That red line right there, that's the anchored VWAP that she was talking about. At a pretty strong break below. If you got in there, then your entry is probably a whole lot better than mine. Yeah, I'm not loving that it's holding this value area high, which is also a spot here where it was holding. If it can break below this 840, which is the previous wick low, and then also a spot over here. If it can hold below there, I think we'll at least get back down to that 15-minute range high. Let's see, let's see. So I like to kind of scale out of my positions. I would take most of it in this area I'm talking about, 820, 815. But might hold a runner to value area low. Gotta have it actually break lower though. Don't want to count my chickens before they hatch, right? Because we could also just get stopped out. So I'll set one limit order at that 15-minute opening range high. And then the other one at value area high, which is also right around VWAP. So I'll put it here at 792. And let's see how it goes. G-Man, I'm curious, what made you stay flat? I know you're a failed auction trader too. What did you see that made you not take the trade? There we go. I'm starting to feel a little bit better about it. That chopping around and holding above value area high was starting to make me nervous. So if this 1 minute candle closes down below, I'll feel better about it. So I'm only 3 micros short in this one. Again, sizing down just because I feel like I'm not reading the market like really well today, and being live with you guys, I don't want to like blow my account and do something stupid. So I have one target set right around here between 15-minute opening range high and the New York anchored VWAP. I have another target set here at value area low / VWAP area, and then one runner down to the initial balance low. I like to leave one home run just to like, in case it just dumps, like if news comes out or something. But at that point, I'll just be watching price action. Like if it's having a strong bullish reaction off of one of these VWAPs or one of these levels, then I'll close it fully. But if it's looking weak and looking like there's going to be continuation lower, then I'll trail my stop and hold it. So I usually just like to set those orders just in case the market like starts to move in that direction and I'm not quick enough to do market orders. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to hold it the entire time. I'll definitely adjust things based on current PA. So far so good. It is holding above that value area high spot that I was talking about. It was holding support for a while, kind of chopping around there. So it did drop below that. It's holding below that for now. So let's see if we get that continuation that I'm hoping for. Now that it's showing me that it's going lower and I feel good about my spot, I am going to move my stop loss to that wick high, reduce some risk. So I'm going to adjust my stop here. Now only risking $108 so far on that trade. So far so good. I feel decent about it, at least hitting that first target, and then we'll see how it reacts. Because going back to TradingView, where I have my analysis on, that 15-minute opening range high and anchored VWAP area could definitely be an area of support. This red anchored VWAP is from the low of the New York session. It's anchored down here. So basically that means that anyone who entered from a position down here is still in profit above this line. If it falls below that line, then their positions are negative, which means that they'll probably start to sell off their positions. Hopefully, that's the theory behind it. But it also could mean that they defend their positions, which is why there's a bounce here. They could be buying more to defend their positions or add to their positions. So that's kind of a telling point right here. Like, is there going to be continuation higher, or are people that bought down here, are they going to start selling their positions and we drop below that anchored VWAP? So let's see. Hopefully we get a rejection at this value area high here, which was also that previous support. Hopefully turn resistance and go lower. That's the goal. That's the goal. If that happens, then we'll be sitting in a good spot. My stop loss is still above the high of day anchored VWAP, so it'll give a little bit of room in case it does come up there and bounce. I wouldn't like that though, because like I said, I want this value area high to be a spot where it rejects. If it gets up back above there and holds, then I don't think it's going to be a good position. Come on. What did our range end up being today? I feel like it's pretty small. It was 70 points total when I looked earlier. Now we are at, oh no, that's opening range high. I did that wrong. From opening range low. There we go. I didn't zoom out enough. From the low all the way to the high, the hour range is 116. Still pretty small. It's usually closer to like 200 or more. You can tell there is no news today. Not a whole lot of volume. Still sitting around that value area high spot. I would love to see it get below that. Man, I've noticed that when positions take a long time to like play out, or trades take a long time to play out, I start to second guess myself a lot and start to see things that aren't there, you know? Like originally I saw this short because of the failed auction. There was some confluence because it broke below that anchored VWAP of the previous low. And I was like, yeah, I'm feeling good. It broke below this value area high. I was starting to feel confident about it. And now that it's taken 20 minutes and it hasn't gone anywhere, I'm like, oh, well, maybe we could be bouncing off of this low a day VWAP and we could be going higher. And I should be getting in a long. I wish it would play out quicker sometimes because, like I said, I start to see things that aren't there. I just got to get better at being patient, like let it play out. Because we haven't really gotten any new information. It's still below this high of day VWAP. It's still below the 60-minute high, initial balance high. My entry wasn't great, but I feel like the confluence for a short is still there. Yeah, range Ds are harder. I've gotten better, I think, at not getting chopped up. And like, when I first started, I used to like flip from long to short, because like, oh, it's above VWAP, it's below VWAP, it's below this, above this line, it's below this line. And I would just flip back and forth and take like 20 trades and blow accounts. I've gotten better at taking fewer trades for one, and like waiting for all the confluence to make me feel more confident. But also, I think I've gotten better at just walking away and understanding that like, I don't really have a great read on the market. I'll walk away with a small red day or even a small green day and just come back tomorrow. So I think that's the best thing that I've gotten good at, is just understanding when I'm reading it well and when I'm not, and feeling okay with walking away. You guys have probably heard this before, and I said this actually in my video that I put out on my YouTube last night, but there's like the hierarchy of big green days, small red days, and big red days. To be a profitable trader, pretty much all you have to do is eliminate those big red days. So small red days are okay. Just keep your losing days small and you'll be fine. So that's what I'm still working on it. I still have some big red days, but I'm getting better at it. All right. My stop loss is right above this wick. So probably just got stopped out. Oh, not yet. I'm about to though. Or not. I was just gonna play with my emotions for a little bit. There it is. All right, let me flatten all these other limit orders. All right, small red, $79 down. All right, I'm gonna sit and watch for a couple more minutes because we're only 90 minutes into the open. I don't love the volume so far, but if we have more information that shows up and we get like another retest of initial balance high with a strong rejection or something like that, then I'll look for another trade. But that might be where I call it if I don't see something new here in a little bit. So I know D was short on ES. Are you still in it? Or did you take profit? Did you get stopped out? How did your trade go? So the scenario for longs, we did have a good bounce off of this low a day VWAP. We are starting to break above this high of day anchor VWAP, although not with a whole lot of conviction. That's not a strong breakout. There's not a whole lot of volume behind it. And we are still below this initial balance low and previous day high. So I personally wouldn't take a long here. If you got in long, maybe off of this bounce, off of that VWAP, you could be sitting good. But if I were to enter long here, my stop would have to be below this wick low, and then my take profit would maybe be at that wick high, and that's not even a 1-to-1. So I don't like that risk to reward. So I wouldn't like the longs. I think what I would rather look for, what I'd be waiting for is a rejection from initial balance high and get another failed auction attempt. Thanks for stopping by, D. Have a good day. What else are you guys trading? Anyone in a trade right now? Long, short? What are you guys watching? You got in short from the IB high like currently right here? I don't know, I just haven't seen sellers show back up. I think I would want to wait for a couple red candles to show that we're rejecting from that area. Kind of looking at the risk to reward. I'd probably put my stop. Oh, I don't know if I would want to put it way up there. I'd probably put it closer to like previous day high. We're starting to reject. We never actually, on this low, we never went down to the 15-minute low. So that, I think, would still be the general area that I would want to target, at least VWAP, somewhere around there. So the risk reward on that is decent. We are starting to reject. And like I said, we did break above this high of day anchored VWAP, but not really any continuation. Like, that's not convincing to me for taking a long. So if you guys are just looking at your screen, I'm not actually in a short yet. I took this one, got stopped out for a small loss. I'm looking at a possible re-entry on this initial balance high rejection. Just kind of waiting for a reaction here. We could potentially put an anchor at this recent low and possibly wait until we break back below that to get in. So what am I looking for entry confirmation? So right now I did take this short thinking that it would be a rejection off the initial balance. And I did get stopped out. So what I'm watching for right now is this is the initial balance high. Hoping for a rejection, which would be another failed auction. It is hitting some resistance here, but there's not any convincing selling. So I think that would be what I'm looking for, is like more volume on the sale side, like we're getting right now. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and enter. I'm short too, G-Man. Let's go. 856.5 is my entry. And I don't really want to let it go all the way back here, because that would be a higher low and a higher high. Don't know if I should put my stop at this previous wick though, because that doesn't give it a whole lot of room to run. I'll give it a little bit of breathing room. But again, I don't want to let it go all the way up here, because that'll be a higher high. All right, so it's reaching this anchored VWAP from this previous swing low. If it convincingly sells below that, then I would feel better about our position. So I'm gonna go ahead and enter my stop loss just so I don't get wicked out. I'm gonna put it at 873. But I think I would close it before it got there. That's kind of just to protect myself. And then, like I said on the last one, I'm gonna put my home run, like Hail Mary target at the initial balance low, but definitely gonna take profits along the way. So I'll take one at initial balance, or a 15-minute opening range high at 815. I'll do 818. So one there. Another one here at that overnight VWAP, which is also kind of in this chop zone area. So I'll put it around 802. And then we'll see how that position plays out. I might add some more orders around here. These accounts, I actually have my personal daily profit target lockout set at 900. So if I buy these two and then it goes all the way down, I'll be close to that. That'd be cool. But I'm also trying to work on not setting my profit targets based on my profit target. Like, set my limit orders based on what I want to make for the day. So just trying to take what the market will give me. Yeah, I have 50K accounts. Yep, 50K instant funded. I have 2 that I'm copy trading. So the reason I have my profit target set at 900, if that's what you're wondering, is why does it keep doing that? Can you guys see that? It's like refreshing and freezing. It's annoying. The max payout per account is 2,500. So my goal is to get the max payout and then also leave myself with a $2,000 buffer for continuation trading. So that's 4,500 total. And then with the 20% consistency rule, 4,500 divided by 5. Dang it. Is this happening for anyone else? Where it keeps like bugging out? Anyway, 4,500 total would be like my total profit target. And then divided by 5, that would be $900 max per day. Is anyone else trading on Top 1 futures and their screen keeps blinking out like mine is? Or is it just me because I'm streaming and have like 15 tabs open? All right, just me. All right, feeling pretty good about our position. I'm about 18 points in profit. If it breaks below this previous wick low at 8:30, we're gonna be good. We'll at least hit that first profit, I think, because that'll be a lower low. Luna, did you get back in short? Are we all making money together? Come on, let's go. All right, I'm gonna at least move my stop to break even because I don't want to have it reverse on me and do something crazy. Well, hopefully you left a runner, Luna. Come on. Did I put my first limit order in the wrong spot? It's like right there. Come on. It was like $2 off, $3 off. Don't leave me hanging like that. What did it bounce off of? Yep, it bounced right off of that anchored VWAP. I did put my stop loss, or my first limit order, a little high. Let's see if it'll come back down. In order to get the rest of my orders, it would have to break below that VWAP anyway. Rejected, like it bounced off of it, you mean? Yep. That's kind of what I'm looking at. I'm a little annoyed I put my first limit order in the wrong spot because I should have at least gotten a little bit out of my position. But like I said, in order for us to hit the rest of my orders, it would have to break below that anyway. I still feel like, I mean, maybe this is wishful thinking, but just from what I'm seeing on the chart, like even if we took this anchored VWAP off, there's a lot of volume. That's a high volume node right there. Like that's huge, right at 808. And there's a lot of resistance, like a perfect line right at point of control and 15-minute opening range high. Like there's just a lot of confluence right there. I feel like it's gonna at least go to that area. There it goes. All right. Got that first limit order and it broke below the anchored VWAP, which is a good sign for continuation lower. If it closes below, like obviously it could just kind of wick below and close higher. So we'll see how these next couple minutes of the candles close. If we have a strong bounce off of this area, then I might close my short. Because that's what I was talking about with lots of resistance right there, which turned into support. Also 15-minute opening range high and point of control. So definitely a good area for a potential bounce. If it gets below this 21,812 area, then, I mean, we could go all the way back down to range low. I do have one limit order set right around here at VWAP, and then I'll hold the rest depending on how PA goes. Buyers aren't really showing up at this VWAP yet, so looking good for our shorts. Let me make an adjustment on my next order. I make sure it's at VWAP. I'll put it at like 802. Yep, 802 is where I have it. So that's the next one. And then I'll probably put one more at value area low, because that could be a spot for a potential bounce, which is also right here at Asia high. So there's some previous resistance there, which could be support. So I'll add another limit order here at 787. And then we'll see if we can ride some more lower, depending on how it goes. So I know I'm flipping back and forth between TradingView and Project X a lot, so hopefully I'm not bugging your guys' eyes too much. It's just a lot easier for me to chart on TradingView. But this area right here around 820 is where that anchored VWAP is for the New York session. It's holding it right now, but without continuation higher. So it's kind of making me wonder if we are going to drop below it. Man, I'm glad I have my limit orders and stop loss and everything already set, because it keeps bugging out on my Project X screen. Anyone else in this short and holding some of their position, or did you guys get out fully? What are you guys doing? Still short. Let's go. Let's go. What are you targeting, G-Man? Man, it's playing with my emotions at this VWAP. I mean, it's technically below it, but it's chopping around. What you gonna do? Haven't looked at Bookmap. Do we have any big orders lower that we can pay attention to? There's some a little above 800, like 810. There's some at like 815, which is right around where we're at right now. Honestly, it's just liquidity's low. Not a whole lot of players in the market right now. I'm gonna adjust my stop loss a little bit to 840. So if it does decide to bounce, I'll at least be in the money. And then hopefully get down to a couple more of my limit orders. Do you have a target in mind, G-Man? All right, I'm gonna leave my trade screen up. I have my stop loss set, I have my limit order set. I am going to be right back. All right, I'm back. What did I miss? So it is kind of bouncing off of that VWAP. It reclaimed it. I don't love that for our shorts. Also, that area here at that 15-minute opening range high, point of control, previous resistance, turn support, like high volume area, there was lots of confluence there for a bounce. That's why I took some profit there. But we'll see if this bounce continues higher or if it's just a short-term bounce and we continue lower. If we do break that area with all that confluence for support, and I could see us easily going back down to at least VWAP, possibly the opening range low. Although I know that's kind of a Hail Mary play with this slow price action. It would take 2 hours to get down there. But that's kind of what I'm watching here. I do have my stop loss there at 840. So if it bounces higher, I'll be out in profit. So I'd be okay with that. But I do want to hold on a little bit more because, like I said, if we get below that low level, I could see us going a lot lower. Pulling up Bookmap again. I really don't see any super big orders in either direction, higher or lower. I mean, there's some that are like way far out, but nothing close by that's convincing. So looks like we might be bouncing here. I do have my stop loss right there. We might get stopped out. How you guys doing in the chat? Y'all still trading? What are you doing? How's your morning been? Are you guys flat? Are you long? Are you short? I know G-Man's short. What else are you guys doing? What are you guys looking at? Are you still trading this slow price action? This is slow. You're long. Uh-oh. What made you go long, Luna? All right, so I got stopped out on my trailing stop loss on that one. So we're small green on the day. We're up 118. I'm going to take some of these VWAPs off. It's getting a little crazy here. Yep. Yeah, I don't know if you've been listening, but that was a big area I was kind of talking about. High volume area, big previous resistance, point of control, 15-minute opening range high. Like I could see where that would be a big bounce area. For sure. Man, it just looks like there's not really any continuation either way. Like even buyers aren't continuing here. Let's see what that risk to reward on a long would be. 21-point stop loss, possibly targeting today's high, or even to be more realistic, that initial balance high. That's decent. I just feel like volume died. Volume died. It's not moving either direction. So if I was to re-enter short, for those of you, if you're just looking at your screen, I was just kind of playing around with the risk reward for a potential long. I'm not actually in that trade. So if I was to re-enter short, I could look at this high of day anchored VWAP. If there was a strong rejection there, then we could possibly go lower. I could see where there could be a potential long too. Because like Luna's talking about, it did have a pretty good bounce off of this point of control and 15-minute high. It reclaimed the New York anchored VWAP. And it's starting to have some continuation higher. It would be a little bit of a late entry for me though if I was to get in long. Because now my entry would be here. The risk to reward is barely getting above a 1-to-1 risk to reward. I don't love that. So if I was to get long, I would want it to come back down to that New York VWAP and then have a bullish move up. That would be what I would be looking for longs. So no trade right now, just kind of waiting for a little bit more information. I'd like to see a little bit more volume show up. If it stays slow and choppy like this, then I'll probably call it and not take any more trades today. Or maybe come back this afternoon and trade if volume picks back up. Yeah, same, G-Man. I ended up at 118 on each account, hitting my trailing stop loss for profit. I only took off one contract at that 15-minute opening range high. I probably should have taken more in hindsight just because I knew it was such a big area. I knew there was a big potential for a bounce there. But I guess I was just hoping it would go lower. So this right here is kind of just a price pinch for me. It would be a no trade area. I'm actually going to take that off. This is the New York anchored VWAP. The red one is the low of the New York session anchored VWAP, the red one. The green one is the high of day anchored VWAP. So it's kind of just chopping around in that area. So when price pinches like that, it's usually a kind of coiling up for a bigger move. So the safest, like lowest risk play would be to wait for a breakout either direction. So for example, if there's a strong break and hold below this New York anchored VWAP, then we could potentially take a short. So let's say it's down here. We could put the stop loss at the previous wick high there and then target somewhere lower, or vice versa. If it breaks above this anchored VWAP, breaks and holds above, we could potentially take a long and put the stop loss at that wick low. But right now it's kind of just chopping around between these VWAPs. All right, you guys, I think I'm going to call it for today because price action is just slow. I don't see any trades right now. But just to kind of leave you with what I would be looking for if I was to take another trade today, just to kind of recap what I said earlier, we're pinching between these VWAPs. So if we had a strong break below this anchored VWAP and actually started to close below the 15-minute opening range high, I would definitely be looking for shorts, possibly to the opening range low, depending on how price speeds up, or take a smaller profit target if it's still kind of choppy and slow like this. So that would be one scenario. The other scenario would be if buyers showed up and we had a strong convincing break above this high of day anchored VWAP and a hold above, possibly a retest, then I would be targeting like previous day high or possibly this upper wick high of day area. Again, depending on price action. If it's slow, I would just take 20 or 30 points profit. If it starts to gain some momentum, you can target higher. So that's kind of what I'll be looking for. But I'm going to sign off for now. And that will be it for today. I actually am going to stream tomorrow. Originally, I was going to be with Real Deal Futures on his stream, but we had to reschedule. He had something come up. So I'll be here again tomorrow. I will not be on Wednesday, but I would love to have you guys join in. All right. Take care. Have a good one, you guys.